The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. If you watched the regular show already, you probably noticed some changes. We continue to have the new TV behind me, but we've changed the angles a little bit. I'm sitting in a slightly different spot at the desk, but really the big change, Pat, is when we go to our other camera, which used to be much more zoomed out, and you could see sort of like the entire studio. We have added another vertical TV. And now for certain shots, I can actually look at camera 3. It's a whole different thing when I look over there, isn't it?
Yeah, because you used to just ignore camera 3 altogether, and
Right.
you got to see the lights and everything else.
Yep.
But, you know, camera 1 doesn't show that extra vertical TV. Having
Right.
camera 3 there changes the ball game.
It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. So I can talk to you this way, or I can also talk to you this way, but you can also see me from this angle, even though I'm still talking to camera 1.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of action.
I like it. Yeah. You know, when it comes back to me, it looks a little barren over here now, but
That's
it's a lot
next.
to compete with.
We're not, I mean, every time we do anything, people always write in saying they don't like it. People who don't like it are more likely to write in than people who do like it. So it's always good for us to wait before jumping to any conclusions. Like after the new TV came in last week, a bunch of people wrote in saying they don't really like the look. And then things settled, and then just as many emails sort of trickled in saying, oh, the setup's looking really good, or whatever. People who dislike something are much more likely to speak up about it, you know?
Well, it's a big change, and I think people are usually resistant to change, even the progressives among us.
Yes. Let's get into some stories. Governor Andrew Cuomo of the state of New York introduced the tuition-free plan in January, and lawmakers agreed to include it in the state budget, which was approved by the Assembly over the weekend and by the Senate late Sunday night. The governor is obviously expected to sign the budget bill since he's had so much influence over them. So this is huge. Tuition will be free for residents of New York who earn up to a specific income cap, which will be phased in over the first 3 years of the program. And starting this fall, the undergraduate students who attend a state university of New York or City University of New York school will be eligible for what's called the Excelsior Scholarship if their families earn no more than $100,000 a year. The income limit will go up to $110,000 a year next year and reach $125,000 a year in 2019. What's very interesting about these income limits, and of course, New York City's cost of living very different than other parts of New York. If you live in upstate or rural New York, cost of living could not be more different than it is in New York City. But a combination of the cost of living in New York with the exploded cost of college makes it so that if your parents combined make $110,000 a year, it's actually still not that easy to afford college because college is so insanely expensive. In many cases, you're talking about 40, 50, private school, $60,000 a year. So even though you might, people might hear that and say, hey, like the median family income is like around $50,000. I don't remember exactly where it is as of now. So $110,000 sounds like a lot. It's still hard to afford college, especially if you have 2 kids. You're talking about a family of 4 in New York City on $110,000 a year.
And if you have the choice between paying for rent or saving up for college, you're going to have to pick rent because that's obviously the need that you have to take care of first. My one problem with this, and obviously it's a step in the right direction, is that there's just a set cutoff point. So I wonder if people will be incentivized to make, $1,000 less than that number of 100,000. And conservatives will make that argument when they talk about taxes, but it's completely bogus when they do because, of course, we have a progressive tax system, and as you go through the brackets, your percentage that you pay overall increases. So they obviously don't, sometimes they just don't understand that part of it.
This is called bracket creep, which is where it might be net advantageous to earn less in order to get a benefit whose value is more than the income shortfall you might be deliberately trying to achieve. With taxes, people get confused because they say, oh, well, listen, if I go from X income to Y income, all of a sudden my tax rate goes up. Yeah. It only goes up on your earnings beyond the level of that income bracket. So people seem to miss that a lot of the time.
And it's
you know
confusing
what I mean?
because your overall percentage goes up.
Yes,
but
it does.
It's a tough thing to explain. I was doing my best at it.
Yeah.
I think everyone gets it.
It is difficult to explain. And I agree with you that we might be better off with a system like this if the amount of the subsidy is phased, it's tiered in some way. So as income level goes up, you still get some level of subsidy, sort of like with the Obamacare subsidies, where if you make up to 100% of the federal poverty line, then if you make up to 200%, and you only lose the entire subsidy when you get above 4 times the federal poverty line based on the size of your family. Anyway, I think we both probably agree about that.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm making a conservative argument over here, but obviously I'm in full support of this. Bernie Sanders made this a hallmark of his campaign, and everyone jumped on him for it because they thought, how are we supposed to pay for college for everyone? If you just pay for state universities, it's something like $70 billion a year, and he had a way to fund that.
He did, yeah, and of course the right always says, lefties like Bernie Sanders, they just want free stuff without having to pay for it. No, actually, Bernie Sanders had ways to pay for the programs he was proposing.
A tax on Wall Street speculation.
Yeah, those financial transaction taxes, which would not be good for Trump's buddies. We're facing I don't think it's crazy to use the term that's being used, which is a retail apocalypse, which is hitting retail chains like JCPenney, Macy's, Target, Payless Shoes, etc. This industry employed just under 5 million people in 2014, and now it's being reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics that around 30,000 retail jobs have been lost every single month in 2017 so far. 3,500 retail stores are expected to close in the next few months. And because retail makes up such a big part of the job market, and these retail chain stores are historically, they are sort of a defining element of American life with the growth of the big box store in the 70s and 80s. Whatever we feel about these big corporations and the way companies like Walmart do business, there's no doubt that this is going to be something that changes the socioeconomic culture of the United States. Strip malls are likely going to start dying out. In many towns close to where you grew up, Pat, the strip mall, there's already been for 15 years abandoned strip malls that are sometimes, H&R Block will come in during tax season and rent out some space, and you'll have some seasonal stuff.
The Halloween stores.
The Halloween store, costume stores, exactly. But a lot of these are in total decadence and total decline. I don't know if I used the term decadence right there. I might have not.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Anyway, so as far as the future of this, when people talk about Amazon, they often say, if Amazon destroys all local bookstores, people won't be able to go and physically pick up the books anymore. And I'm sort of sensitive to that. Although I buy most of my books online and just have it show up in a box at home, I don't feel the need to go and physically pick up the book. With clothes, I don't buy clothes very often, but it's pretty split. Like when the thing I buy most often is dress shirts, and I know my size. I know that at Banana Republic, it's a small, and I know that at wherever I go, so for the most part, I can order those online, although sometimes I'll go into a store. So I don't know that there's going to be anything that turns this trend around in terms of the destruction of retail.
And that's pretty much what the decline is credited to, the rise in online shopping. I mean, maybe to some extent automation, because there's some things that you can do in retail through robots, but it largely has to do with online shopping. Yeah, but people also like to get out every now and then and go into the public, and I think that's why you see, Starbucks still does very well. These coffee shops do just fine.
Shopping as an experience, you mean?
Yeah, because it's like that Seinfeld episode. We want to get out of the house so we can later get back in the house.
Yes.
And you want to have a reason to get out every now and then. Of course, online shopping can be much more convenient. But overall, I think people like the experience of trying on the clothes and going and checking out the stores.
Because obviously the ability to online shop often requires not only access to an internet connection and a computer, but typically also a credit card. You are, of course, seeing that the less wealthy are doing less online shopping relative to the wealthier. And you can actually see that in retail trends, places like Ocean State job lots, which I don't know if it exists in the entire country, but in Massachusetts we have them, which are sort of like bulk, like surplus items that often are made available at big discounts, often when it comes to food items close to their expiration date, sort of, et cetera. So disproportionately, those are the types of retail stores that are doing better. And sadly, check cashing places and pawn shops, those are retail places that seem to do well, especially because of the middle class and lower income wage stagnation that we've seen.
I think there's people like me, though, who will still prefer to go to the retail stores because I'm just awkwardly proportioned. And I'm in between two sizes. I may be a large or an extra large, and like my arms are just, for whatever reason, way longer than the rest of me.
Right.
So I always want to try things on. And I think it's people like me who will create the market for keeping these retail stores in place, even if they have less people shopping at them.
That could be. That could be. I have the long arms issue also. It was first pointed out to me by a old coworker of mine when I worked at, speaking of retail, when I worked at Circuit City when I was in high school in my first year in college. And my friend from Ukraine, Roman, pointed out that I was walking around on the sales floor and that my hands reached basically down to my knees. And then when I pointed it out to my dad, he said, "Oh yeah, I've noticed that for your entire life. I just didn't really mention it."
Well, if you look at the Leonardo da Vinci, that portrait of a human where the guy's sticking his hands out,
yeah,
ideally your wingspan should be the same as your height.
Correct.
But I think for both of us, our wingspans are quite longer.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
You should measure it.
That would be something else to do on another stunt for the bonus show. Speaking of which, you might remember that a few weeks ago we had a viewer send in vegan cheese because of vegan producer Pat, and we tried the cheese on the show.
Are you willing to call it cheese at this point?
No, I mean I'm calling it that because the product is called quote vegan cheese, end quote. Although it's not cheese because it was made from hemp and hazelnuts. We have now received, and I don't even know who this came from. We have received vegan kosher chocolates free from the top 8 allergens from a company called No Way Foods, W-H-E-Y. So this is not a promotion for the company insofar as I don't believe the company sent these to us. I believe it's a viewer that sent them to us, but of course it was fulfilled by the company. Now the thing about vegan chocolate is dark chocolate is usually vegan because it doesn't have milk in it. The idea of these is that they are milk chocolate style, but it doesn't actually contain milk. So we have a number of different kinds here, and Pat has already taken a couple. So we should try these. Which do you want to hold up the ones you have over there?
Yeah. So I have one of each. I have a milk, again, quote unquote milk chocolate. I have a dark chocolate. I don't even think this is in camera very well.
Oh, it's on there. People can see it. Yeah.
And I have a white chocolate.
Okay.
Right? So I wonder if the milk alternative comes from almonds or if it comes from soy. Does it say on there?
It doesn't say. Let me take a look at the card here. Hold on. Dairy-free, nut-free, egg-free, gluten-free, soy-free, vegan, all natural, and free of the 8 common allergens.
So what's actually in there? If it's none
nothing.
Of those things?
There's nothing in it. That's the crazy thing.
That's everything, right?
Okay, so let's do the. Why don't we do the? Let's try the milk fudge, I guess, right? Which is the one that has the white.
Lighter brown?
It's light brown with white sort of little stripes on it.
I feel like I have to clear my palate.
Okay, yeah, let's take a sip of water. Just
some
to be
Keurig coffee.
Okay, I think I'm ready. So the big thing with this is that it simulates milk.
Yeah.
We're about to experience simulation of milk here, folks. Okay, let's try it. Okay. I mean, it tastes like fudge to me.
Exactly.
And that one is called milk fudge. Okay, that makes sense. This is a decadent milkless fudge chocolate truffle with a hint of vanilla and robed in smooth milkless chocolate.
I expected it to be crunchy.
Really?
I know it says no nuts, of course, but it looks like something that would contain something on the inside and would give you a crunch. I was very... Are you already going on to the dark chocolate?
No, this is the same one. Okay. This is the same one.
Making sure.
Okay. You want to try the dark one?
Sure.
Let's see what's going on over with the dark one.
This is normally already vegan, though. So
yeah, that's what I'm confused about.
We're just kind of testing this brand specifically.
It's like when somebody says, "Hey, this strawberry is 100% vegan." It's like, well, yeah, it's a strawberry. What are we? It's also soy free. It's also gluten free. Yeah, it's a strawberry. How's that one?
Well, it's not just dark chocolate.
Okay.
There's something else in there, like
but you're
raspberry?
confident that these are vegan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I trust it.
Okay.
Is there raspberry in there? I taste some raspberry.
There is raspberry. Okay, well listen, I'm gonna gift this entire box to you, Pat, because I'm going on vacation soon and I have 2 chocolate bars at home, so I won't have any more of them. But there's raspberry truffle, coffee truffle. I wonder if it's Keurig coffee that they put in there.
Yeah.
Milk fudge, Grand Marnier. Don't have that one here. We don't want you getting drunk.
No.
And salted caramel. So thank you. This is great that people sent us this. I'm going to have the rest of my fudge during the break.
Also, fun fact, white chocolate was brought to the United States and brought to my hometown of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, to a candy mansion that is still in operation to this day.
White chocolate is not really chocolate.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I went to a chocolate factory in Brooklyn called Raqqa, and which isn't that the name of a city in
Saudi Arabia?
No, in Syria, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
what is Raqqa?
Raaka. It's just a
As in
chocolate
what's
factory.
Aleppo?
It's like oh yeah. And white chocolate, they basically just have the cocoa butter. That's why it's white, because it doesn't have the what would you call it?
The cocoa?
The cocoa, the cacao.
Cacao.
You're removing the actual cacao from the cacao nib, and it's just the butter or something like that.
So does that mean that you also put white chocolate in quotation marks? The same as you would
It's a good
for
point.
cheese?
It's not really chocolate, is it?
Yeah.
It's a cocoa butter product.
It's an imposter.
Anyway, thank you to whoever sent these to us. It's unlikely that we'll be poisoned by them. And hey,
we'll know tomorrow.
We'll know tomorrow about that. Thank you very much.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.